Little Misfortune.
Review! Ready, go!
Little Misfortune is a dark fantasy adventure game from Kill Monday Games.
The studio which also made Fran.
The game stars a young girl in an unfortunate, depressing circumstance who has strange things happen to and around her, and from there it gets weird.
The plot has a dark and often depressing undertone, but Misfortune's positivity keeps it fun and engaging.
It's a sometimes cute, mostly dark and disturbing game.
Little Misfortune's gameplay is rather simple. It has your classic narrative-based gameplay. You can walk around and you can interact with things, try to find secrets and throw glitter on stuff. Occasionally you will encounter a minigame, and these can be fun little distractions, but they don't add much to the experience overall. There are also decisions that you can make that will alter how parts of the story will play out. Some even grant you some really cool extra cinematics, and that is pretty cool. So that's the gameplay. There isn't really much more than that.
The game is an interactive story.
The intriguing dual worlds mechanic where you'd take a pill and swap between normal room and blood-soaked hellscape is not here, and neither are the inventory or puzzles.
It is a very linear game. You play this game for the story and experience. For the game's short length, with all of the choices that must be made, you cannot experience everything this game has to show you in a single run.
There are collectibles to obtain too, which is pretty cool, and it gives you something to keep your eyes peeled for during the game.
All that depends, of course, on whether or not you want to play the story more than once.
The story overall is incredibly morbid, and you can't help but worry about Misfortune and consider your every single action that you make along the way. It's an interesting and eerie story that makes you feel anxious for this little girl. It's an absolutely great way of making decisions feel a lot bigger, even if it is just something small.
And the writing and delivery is top-notch.
You will often second-guess your choices, as it can be a dark and surprising game, and you never know what your consequences will be.
The game has stylized drawn visuals with painterly backgrounds.
The graphics in Little Misfortune are hand-drawn and presented in a 2D side-scrolling perspective. I found the art style to be one of the game's biggest strengths. I love the character and background designs, and the animation was also very well done. The world feels a bit morbid, but it also is always active. You will constantly see things moving around, whether it is birds, other people, leaves blowing. When inspecting items, there are close-ups with great artwork and funny details. There are also fully animated cutscenes from time to time, and these are just as charming and high quality as the rest of the game. They nailed what they were trying to go for. I found the visuals charming and fun throughout the experience. The sound in Little Misfortune is just as well done as the graphics, which matches the experience they've crafted perfectly. You will be hearing Misfortune and the narrator speak often, and their voices are excellently done.
The soundtrack for Little Misfortune is full of lovely pieces that are sorrowful yet relaxing, but it also contains darker tracks with mystery and anxiety thrown in. After all, the game is rather dark and stars a kind of happy-go-lucky child, therefore having a mix of the two sounds works really well. Having light-hearted vibes followed by darker tones really suits Misfortune in her journey.
In conclusion, while being very simple from a gameplay perspective, this narrative experience was fun to play through.
Overall, Little Misfortune packs in a lot of humour and charm. Its soundtrack really helps to further the mood, whether it be happiness or sadness.
Whoever did the soundtrack at Kill Monday needs a raise because they know how to make a good video game soundtrack to fit the atmosphere.
It is a very short game, and can be completed in around 3 hours, but a second playthrough can be fun to see how things can turn out if you were to make different choices.
The gameplay can be quite minimal, but the story, dialogue and occasional minigame keeps it from getting stale. There's a lot of fun to be had here for narrative-driven and minimalistic game fans out there, and it is definitely something to try out if you've never tried one of these kinds of games before. If you don't like a lot of dialogue and don't like walking around and examining items, then this game will not be for you.
I suggest you get their other game, Fran. It's a lot longer and you get more bang for your buck.
Little Misfortune
Earns